You know what's crazy? Most people spend their entire lives running after things they think will finally make them happy, only to end up exhausted, unfulfilled, and wondering why nothing ever feels like enough. Happiness isn't hiding in the next achievement, the next compliment, the next purchase. It's right here, but you can't feel it if you're chasing the wrong things. Today, I want you to pause, breathe, and get brutally honest with yourself. Because the moment you stop chasing what drains you, you finally make space for what frees you. Let's break that cycle. Right now, you've got to understand something that most people never realize. The moment you constantly seek approval from others, you give away the one thing that truly matters, your own power. Think about it. How often have you said yes to something, not because you wanted to, but because you didn't want to disappoint someone? How many decisions have you made based on how you thought people would react, rather than what your heart truly desired? Every time you do that, you're living life on someone else's terms, and that's a trap. Happiness isn't found in applause, in likes, in validation from others. Happiness begins when you stop asking permission to be yourself. Now, I want you to really listen here, because this is crucial. External validation is seductive. It makes you feel like you're climbing, achieving, progressing. But in reality, you're just running on a treadmill that never ends. You might get a compliment, a promotion, a well done, and for a moment it feels like satisfaction. But what happens when it doesn't come? What happens when someone criticizes you, ignores your efforts, or doesn't notice at all? You feel crushed. You feel small. You feel like your worth depends on someone else's approval. And that, my friend, is a life sentence to unhappiness. Think about the people you admire, the ones who are truly powerful, truly happy. They don't live their lives trying to get approval from everyone. They've stopped chasing that. They don't need everyone to like them. They don't need everyone to agree with them. They know that the only validation that matters is the validation they give themselves, the voice inside that says, I am enough. I am doing enough. I am capable of more than I think. That's where true freedom begins. That's where real joy begins. Now, I want to be brutally honest with you. Letting go of the need for external approval is not easy. It's uncomfortable. There will be moments where people will look at you strangely, judge you, maybe even criticize you openly. And here's the test in those moments. Will you shrink back, or will you stand taller because you know your worth doesn't depend on them? The difference between someone who lives a life of quiet desperation and someone who lives a life full of energy, joy, and power comes down to this: who controls your story, you or everyone else? You see, chasing approval creates a kind of addiction. You start relying on the eyes of others to feel alive, to feel accomplished, to feel like your life matters. And that's exhausting, because no matter how much you get, it's never enough. You can never win if your happiness depends on someone else's opinion. You can't build a life that matters on other people's applause. So what's the solution? You stop chasing it. You start turning your attention inward. You start asking, am I proud of myself? Am I living my values? Am I growing, learning, and pushing myself forward? That's the currency of true fulfillment. And here's another truth: the moment you stop seeking validation, life starts to respond differently. Doors open. Opportunities show up. People respect you more, not because you're trying to impress them, but because you're fully yourself. There's something magnetic about someone who walks through life unapologetically, confidently, without needing a nod of approval at every step. People are drawn to authenticity. They're inspired by courage. And that courage starts with one simple act: giving yourself permission to be enough, right here, right now. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying you should ignore feedback or refuse to grow or be selfish. But there is a huge difference between learning and evolving versus bending your life around other people's expectations. Happiness, real happiness, comes when you prioritize your truth over the applause of the crowd. When you live for your purpose, not for their praise. When your inner compass guides you, not their judgments. That's when life stops being a performance and starts being an experience. So today, I want you to make a choice. Not tomorrow, not next week, but today. Stop chasing approval. Stop letting your worth be defined by the reactions of others. Start listening to your own voice. Start trusting your own judgment. Start validating yourself. Stand in your power, feel your value, and watch how life changes. Because the moment you stop chasing the approval of the world, you open the door to the approval that matters most, the approval that comes from yourself. And that is where your true happiness begins. Perfection, it's one of the sneakiest traps out there. People spend their entire lives chasing it, thinking that if they can just get everything flawless, everything polished, everything exactly right, then life will finally feel good. But let me tell you something: perfection is a mirage. It doesn't exist. The more you chase it, the more exhausted you become, the more anxious, the more frustrated. And here's the brutal truth: perfection isn't a path to happiness. It's a prison. Look at your own life for a moment. How many times have you avoided taking action because it wasn't perfect? How many ideas, how many dreams, how many opportunities have slipped through your fingers because you said, it's not ready yet, or I'm not ready yet? That hesitation, that constant need to make everything flawless, is killing your progress. It's keeping you stuck in a cycle of frustration and disappointment. And the worst part is, most people don't even realize it. They think they're being disciplined, careful, responsible. But in reality, they're trapped in an illusion that says, if it isn't perfect, it isn't worth it. Perfection is also a thief of joy. You know that feeling when you finally finish something, and instead of celebrating, you start seeing all the flaws. That's perfection talking. It whispers in your ear, you could have done better. This isn't enough. And just like that, your excitement, your sense of accomplishment, your pride all gets stolen from you. You've traded the possibility of happiness for an impossible standard. And the sad truth is you'll never meet it. No one ever will. Here's the thing, life itself is messy. People are messy, your path is messy. And that's beautiful. That mess is where the magic happens. That's where growth happens. Every mistake, every imperfection, every failure carries a lesson, an opportunity, a chance to evolve. But if you're chasing perfection, you're blind to that. You're so focused on the idea of being flawless that you miss the richness of being human. You miss the learning, the connecting, the experimenting, the joy that comes from simply trying, simply living, simply being in the process. I want you to imagine for a second what it would feel like to let go of perfection, to stop trying to control every little detail, to stop judging yourself for every misstep, to stop worrying about how things should look. Imagine embracing progress instead. Imagine taking action, learning as you go, and celebrating the small wins along the way. That's where freedom lives. That's where happiness lives. When you let go of the impossible standard of perfection, you start seeing that you're enough right now, exactly as you are. And let's be honest, perfection's exhausting. It keeps you anxious, tense, always comparing yourself to an impossible standard, always striving, always pushing. You never relax, you never enjoy, you never breathe. You're in a constant state of not enough. And it's draining the energy, the motivation, the passion out of your life. But when you release it, when you stop chasing perfection, you suddenly feel lighter. You feel energized, you feel creative, you feel alive because you're no longer fighting against reality, you're flowing with it. You're working with what you have, learning, adapting, moving forward. That's how real progress happens. Think about the people who achieve incredible things, the ones who inspire millions. Do you think they got there because everything they did was perfect? Absolutely not. They got there because they tried, they failed, they learned, they adjusted, and they kept going. They embraced imperfection as part of the journey. And in doing so, they discovered what most people never do, that growth, joy, and fulfillment live not in perfection, but in progress. So here's the challenge for today. Stop waiting until everything is perfect to start. Stop letting the fear of being less than flawless keep you from living the life you want. Take the first step, imperfect as it may be. Make the effort, put yourself out there, experiment, learn, adjust, and move forward. Celebrate your efforts, your courage, your growth. Because that's what life is really about, not perfection, not flawless outcomes, not constant approval. It's about action, progress, and fully engaging with every messy, beautiful moment along the way. Happiness is not found in perfection. It's found in embracing your journey and taking imperfect action and learning from mistakes, and in fully showing up for yourself every single day. And that is where your true fulfillment begins. You've got to understand something that most people never stop to realize. A huge part of our unhappiness comes from chasing things we cannot control. We spend our lives trying to manipulate outcomes, trying to change other people, trying to predict the future, and convincing ourselves that if everything falls perfectly into place, we will finally be happy. But the truth is, none of that is in your hands. None of it. And the more you try to control the uncontrollable, the more frustration, stress, and disappointment you stack into your life. Think about it for a second. How many hours, days, even years have you wasted worrying about someone else's behavior, someone else's opinion, or some situation that you have zero power over? You've been spinning your wheels, pouring your energy into things that aren't yours to steer. And all the while, your own potential, your own power, your own happiness is waiting for you just beyond your grasp because you've been looking in the wrong direction. You've been focused on trying to control the uncontrollable rather than taking charge of the one thing that is truly yours, your response. This is where most people get it wrong. They think control equals success. They think control equals security. But in reality, control is an illusion. You cannot control what other people say, what they think, what they do. You cannot control every twist and turn life throws at you. And the more you chase that control, the more life feels like a battlefield. The more you feel like a victim of circumstances, you feel trapped, powerless, and exhausted because you're fighting against something you were never meant to fight. Now, here's the breakthrough moment. You stop chasing what you cannot control and you start focusing on what you can. And what can you control? Your choices, your effort, your attitude, your focus, your actions. That's it. That is your power. And when you start investing in these, when you start owning these, your energy transforms. Your perspective shifts. Suddenly, instead of being a reactive participant in life, you become the architect of your own destiny. You stop waiting for the world to hand you happiness and start creating it with every decision you make. The irony is that most people believe control will make them safer, happier, or stronger. But the opposite is true. The moment you relinquish the need to control, the moment you stop obsessing over outcomes that aren't yours, you experience freedom. You experience relief. You experience clarity. And here's the beauty. By focusing only on what is yours to manage, you become far more effective. You become far more impactful. You become someone who moves with confidence because you are not distracted by the things you cannot influence. Your energy is not diluted. It is concentrated, focused, and unstoppable. Let me give you an example. How often have you stayed up at night replaying a conversation, worrying about what someone said or what someone might do next? How often have you stressed over a project, an opportunity, a decision that wasn't even fully in your hands? All that time, all that energy was wasted. But imagine if instead you asked yourself, what can I do right now that is in my control? How can I take responsibility for my part? How can I move forward no matter what happens? That single shift from obsession with control to ownership of your actions is life-changing. It's the difference between being a victim and being a victor. And here's the thing, when you stop chasing what you cannot control, you also stop being driven by fear. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of the unknown, these all exist because people try to control outcomes. They try to predict life. They try to guarantee success. But life has no guarantees. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you can step into your power, the sooner you can act decisively, boldly, courageously, even when you don't know exactly how it will turn out. Because happiness doesn't come from certainty. It comes from confidence in your own ability to navigate uncertainty. So today I want you to make a decision. Decide that you will stop wasting energy chasing the uncontrollable. Decide that you will focus only on what is yours to influence. Decide that you will take full responsibility for your choices, your efforts, your attitude. That is where your freedom lives. That is where your strength lives. That is where your happiness lives. Because the moment you stop chasing what you cannot control, you finally open your life to what you can truly create. And that is where your true peace begins. Comparison, it's one of the most dangerous habits we have, and yet most people do it every single day without even realizing it. They scroll, they look, they measure themselves against others, and suddenly they feel small, they feel inadequate. They feel like their life isn't enough. And it doesn't stop there. Once comparison creeps in, it steals your energy, it steals your focus, it steals your joy. You start chasing someone else's life instead of living your own. You start defining your success by someone else's standards instead of your own. And that, my friend, is a guaranteed path to unhappiness. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you looked at someone else's achievements and felt envious? How often have you thought, why not me? Or, I'll never get there. That's comparison speaking. It's a subtle thief. It disguises itself as motivation, but in reality, it drains your energy and clouds your mind. You start chasing goals that aren't even yours. You start trying to prove something to the world, to someone else. And in the process, you lose sight of what really matters, your own growth, your own journey, your own life. Here's the thing about comparison, it's completely unnecessary. You are not meant to be anyone else. You are not meant to live someone else's story. Your path, your timing, your purpose is unique. And the sooner you embrace that, the sooner you find real freedom. When you measure yourself against others, you are essentially saying their journey is more important than mine. And that's absurd because the only life you have to live is your own. And let's be honest, comparison is also exhausting. You're constantly trying to keep up, constantly trying to be better, constantly trying to prove something. You're running someone else's race, following someone else's rules, and chasing someone else's dreams. How can you possibly find joy, fulfillment, or peace in that? You can't. You're living life in someone else's shadow, and every step you take is weighed down by someone else's accomplishments. That's no way to live. The breakthrough comes when you shift your focus inward. When you stop comparing, when you stop measuring yourself against other people's lives, when you stop trying to win at someone else's game, you start to see the beauty in your own path. You start to appreciate your own progress, your own victories, your own lessons. You start to define success on your terms. And that, my friend, is empowering. That is liberating. That is where true happiness begins. Now, here's a powerful truth. The people who inspire you the most, the ones who seem to have it all together, the ones who are thriving in life, they are not thinking about you. They are not measuring themselves against you. They are focused on their own growth, their own challenges, their own progress. And that's exactly what you must do. Stop worrying about what they have. Stop worrying about what they're doing. Stop worrying about how fast they're moving. Focus on your own journey, your own actions, your own growth. That's the only race worth running. And here's another thing. Comparison kills creativity. When you're busy looking at what everyone else is doing, you start imitating instead of innovating. You stop creating your own ideas, your own vision, your own path. But when you stop comparing, when you stop measuring, suddenly your mind opens. Your creativity flows. You start seeing opportunities that are unique to you. You start building something that is yours, not a copy of someone else's life. And that is where greatness is born. So how do you break free from this trap? First, become aware of it. Catch yourself when you start comparing. Notice the thoughts, the feelings, the moments when envy or self-doubt creep in. Second, shift your focus inward. Ask yourself, am I making progress? Am I growing? Am I living my values? Third, celebrate yourself. Celebrate your wins, no matter how small. Celebrate your courage, your effort, your persistence. And finally, remember that your path is yours alone. The more you honor it, the more you focus on your own journey, the lighter, freer, and happier your life becomes. Comparison is not a motivator, it's a thief. It steals your joy, your energy, and your potential. The moment you stop chasing other people's lives, the moment you stop trying to measure up, the moment you stop letting someone else's story define your worth, you open the door to something far greater, authentic happiness, inner peace, and the power to fully embrace your own journey. And that is where your true joy begins. So many people chase money, possessions, titles, and status, believing that once they have them, life will finally feel complete. They work harder, longer, sacrifice more, all in pursuit of material success, thinking it will fill the void inside. And yet the more they get, the more they want, the more they accumulate, the more restless, unsatisfied, and empty they feel. That's the cruel irony of chasing material happiness. It can never give you what you're really looking for. You can't buy fulfillment. You can't purchase peace, and you can't trade money for meaning. Let me be clear, having money, having success, having things is not the enemy. They can be powerful tools. They can open doors, create opportunities, and provide comfort. But here's the key. If your sense of happiness depends on them, you are setting yourself up for disappointment because material things are fleeting. They come and go, trends change. Markets crash, jobs end. And the more you tie your self-worth and your joy to these external markers, the more fragile your happiness becomes. You are giving your power away to things you cannot fully control. The truth is, lasting happiness comes from things money cannot buy. It comes from connection, from relationships, from contribution, from growth, from living a life that is true to who you are. It comes from moments of purpose, from experiences that expand your soul, from challenges that teach you resilience, from laughter, from love, from fully showing up and being alive in the present moment. Those are the things that stay with you long after a paycheck is spent, a promotion is achieved, or a car loses its shine. Think about the richest people in the world who are miserable. The people who have everything society says you should want, but inside they feel empty. They learned the hard way that possessions alone do not equal fulfillment. The car, the house, the status, it's all temporary. You can accumulate endlessly, and yet if you never invest in your growth, your relationships, your experiences, and your inner life, you are still poor in the ways that matter most. And the sad part is, most people are chasing this illusion without ever realizing it. Here's the breakthrough. When you stop chasing material happiness, when you stop letting money, things, and status define your worth, you begin to notice something remarkable. Life becomes richer, more vibrant, and more meaningful. You start valuing experiences over objects. You start valuing growth over guarantees. You start valuing impact over accumulation. You start living for the things that truly matter, not for the things that society tells you should matter. And in that moment, true freedom emerges. True joy emerges. True contentment emerges. Another thing to understand is that chasing material happiness can also blind you to the opportunities that truly fulfill you. When your focus is on what you don't have, you miss the richness of what you already possess. You miss the relationships that nourish your soul. You miss the moments that inspire and teach you. You miss the chance to make a difference in ways that money cannot measure. And ironically, by constantly chasing more, you actually reduce your ability to fully engage with what you already have. So how do you shift from chasing material happiness to creating real lasting fulfillment? First, start appreciating what you already have. Take a moment every day to notice the people, experiences, lessons, and even challenges that have shaped your life. Gratitude is a powerful lens. It shows you that you already have more than enough, and it opens your mind to the abundance that exists in non-material forms. Second, focus on growth and contribution. Invest your time, your energy, and your resources into things that build character, deepen relationships, and leave a legacy. Third, live intentionally. Make choices based on purpose, not on what will impress others or elevate your status. When your actions are aligned with your values, happiness becomes a natural byproduct. Here's the most important point: material things are fleeting, but meaning lasts. Experiences shape you. Relationships shape you. Learning shapes you. Your impact on the world shapes you. If you measure your life by possessions, you will always feel a sense of lack. If you measure your life by growth, love, and contribution, you will always feel abundance. You will always feel alive. You will always feel fulfilled. So today, I want you to ask yourself a question. Are you chasing what truly matters, or are you chasing what society says should matter? Are you accumulating more stuff, or are you building more meaning? Are you living to impress, or are you living to experience, to grow, to love, and to contribute? When you stop chasing material happiness and start investing in what truly matters, you will discover a kind of joy, freedom, and fulfillment that no money, title, or possession could ever give you. And that is where your true happiness begins. So many people spend their lives thinking, I'll be happy when I'll be happy when I get the promotion. I'll be happy when I reach that goal. I'll be happy when life finally aligns the way I want it to. And while they're waiting for that perfect moment, life passes them by. Years go by, moments slip away, and happiness remains elusive because they keep pushing it into the future. They think joy is somewhere out there in some tomorrow that may or may not come. And that, my friend, is one of the greatest illusions we fall for. Happiness is not waiting for some milestone, some achievement, some perfect condition. Happiness is not a future event you have to earn or reach. It's available right now in this moment if you choose to see it. And here's the hard truth. If you keep chasing someday, happiness, you will never live. You will never fully experience the richness, the energy, the wonder of life because you are constantly putting it off. You are telling yourself, not yet, not now. And every time you do, you rob yourself of the one thing that truly matters, the present. Think about it for a second. How many times have you delayed joy because you were waiting for circumstances to be perfect? How many times have you said, I'll celebrate when, or I'll relax when, or I'll feel content when? That kind of thinking creates a life full of waiting to be happy, waiting to feel fulfilled, waiting to feel alive. And while you wait, life doesn't wait for you. The moments, the opportunities, the laughter, the connection, they keep moving, and too often they pass you by. Here's the breakthrough. When you stop chasing happiness in the future and start living it now, everything changes. You realize that the power to feel joy, to feel fulfillment, to feel alive has been in your hands all along. You don't need a new job, a new relationship, a new paycheck, or a new city to find it. You need presence. You need awareness. You need the courage to embrace life as it is right now with all its imperfections, all its challenges, all its beauty. Happiness is not a destination. It is a decision. It is a practice. It is a choice you make in this very moment. The irony is that when you stop waiting for the future, when you stop postponing joy, you also become more effective in creating the life you want. People think delaying happiness will push them to achieve more, but it actually drains their energy and clouds their focus. When you practice being fully present, when you allow yourself to experience gratitude, wonder, and fulfillment today, your mind becomes sharper, your heart becomes lighter, and your energy becomes unstoppable. You are no longer living in scarcity, always chasing what is missing. You are living in abundance, fully engaged with what is here. And here's something most people don't understand. Living fully in the present doesn't mean you stop striving. It doesn't mean you stop growing. It doesn't mean you stop reaching for goals. It means you stop postponing joy until some imaginary future. It means you align your actions with purpose while savoring the journey. It means you celebrate the small victories, acknowledge your progress, and fully feel the life you're creating as you create it. That is how true fulfillment is built. That is how happiness becomes permanent. Think about the moments you've truly felt alive, the laughter with friends, the quiet sunset, the accomplishment of a small but meaningful task. None of these required a perfect future. None of them depended on some milestone. They were available in the moment, and you experienced them fully because you allowed yourself to be present. And that is exactly what you must learn to do every single day. So here's the challenge. You stop saying, I'll be happy when, and start saying, I choose to be happy now. Stop postponing life. Stop waiting for permission from circumstances, from outcomes, or from other people. Happiness is not something you find. It is something you claim. It is something you cultivate moment by moment, breath by breath, choice by choice. The moment you start living this way, you start noticing joy everywhere. You start feeling energy, connection, and purpose in places you never realized were there. You start living, really living instead of just existing. Life is not a series of some days. Life is now. Your fulfillment, your joy, your energy, your passion, everything that truly matters is already here waiting for you to embrace it. The moment you stop chasing some future happiness and start claiming the present, you unlock a kind of freedom, power, and peace that chasing goals alone could never give you. And that is where your true happiness begins.